Hey class, welcome back. We're going to be going over lesson 4 today. It's called measurement problems in algebra. So really this is more taking the stuff that we've been learning so far. So in lesson 1, 2, and 3, and we're kind of putting it together so that we can solve some measurement problems using that information, right? So before we get started, just a little bit of review from last year. Area is the amount of space that a 2D object takes on a plane surrounding a shape. So to make that a little bit more easier to understand, let's just take this rectangle here, right? That rectangle there, the area is the amount of space it takes on a piece of paper, right? So the amount of area inside of that drawing or that 2D shape, right? So that's what area is. Perimeter, on the other hand, so we already talked about area, so I'm just going to let you know that. Perimeter, on the other hand, is this. It's, if I was going to take this whole rectangle apart and just have the straight lines that make it up, that's going to be the perimeter, right? So I'm going to take 2x, this side and this side, and I'm going to add them all together in order to get my perimeter, right? Another thing that I want to remind everybody, because you might not remember it, when I have something like this, if I have these two lines, it means that that side is equal to the other side with two lines as well. So this side is also 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And then on this situation, we have this one line, which means it's equivalent to the other side with one line. So this side is also 2x, right? When we have something like a rectangle, usually the two sides at the top are the same and two sides on the side are the same. If I was to give you a triangle, if I had something like this, it meant that all sides are the same. If I gave you something like this, it would mean these two sides are the same and this one's different. And say I gave you something like this, that means every side is different, okay? So it's just good to remember that from last year. All right. So it says, determine a simplified expression for the area of a triangle. So now what we're going to be doing is we're basically going to take everything we learned. So we're going to know how to collect like terms. We're going to know how to use our exponent laws with literal basis. We're going to know how to use distributive property, right? And now we're going to apply all of that to solving something that we've already talked about before, perimeter and area, right? So we're expanding on our previous knowledge. So let's just go in here and say, okay, which one's going to be our length and which one's going to be our width? I'm going to make that length. I'm going to make this width. It doesn't really matter what side you make what, as long as one is length and one is width. Okay, so that's the length and that's the width. All right. Now, we're going to write the expression for area. So I'm going to go in here. What is area? Area is equal to length multiplied by width. Right, so length times width. Now, I know from this chart over here, I know from this drawing, length is equal to 2x. So now I can go into this area equation and I can say, okay, L is equal to 2x, so I can just plug it in for L. Okay? And I know that width is equal to 3x squared plus 4x minus 5, because that's what the width is. That's what it is there. Right? So now I can say, okay, times, sorry, just going to change that, times 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And now I've plugged them in, right? Now I know that area is equal to 2x times 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. Now I can just use the distributive property and expand and simplify this. So let's do that. So I'm going to do 2x times 3x squared, right? So let's do that. 2x times 3x is squared is going to be 2 times 3 first is going to be 6. X times x squared is going to be x to the power of 1 plus 2 is going to be x to the power of 3, right? Let's move on. And I will actually write this out so you know where I got it from. So we did 2x, and I'll put it in purple for us here. So I did 2x, I'm just going to write an equal sign, good form. 2x times 3x squared, right? Plus sign over there, so I'll put the plus, right? And I'm always going to keep everything in brackets because that's just good form. Plus 2x multiplied, what's the next term there? 4x, right? Multiplied by 4x. Then I have a minus coming up. It's going to be minus 5 multiplied by 2x times 5. Right? So now let's just do that. So we have equals 2x times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. X 1 plus 3. Right? And always keep that in brackets for yourself. Plus 2x times 4 is going to be 8 times x plus x. Minus, and you don't have to do this always. I'm just doing it to show you. Okay? Minus 2x times 5 is going to be 10, because it's 2 times 5, and then just 10x. Okay? So I'm just going to simplify this. 6x 1 plus 3 is 4. 6x4. Oh, sorry, that should be 2. I got ahead of myself there. X, 1, 2, so that's going to be 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 8x1 plus 1 is 8x squared. Minus 10x. Right? And that is my most simplified expression. It says determine a simplified expression for the area. Right? I can't simplify this any further. I don't have any multiplication left. I don't have any exponents left, and I just have to add and subtract. And at this point, I can't add and subtract anything because I do not have any more like terms left over. Okay, so then always, 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 I'm going to write my therefore statement. I'm going to be saying, therefore, the expression for area is 6x cubed plus 8x squared minus 10. And as always, area is equal to, right? I'm just going to go in and make a nice little box for myself. Okay. Now, it says determine the area for the rectangle if x is equal to 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in 2 for x here because I already made a simplified expression. So I don't need to go in and do all of this plugging x in somewhere else. I can just go plug it into my expression. So to do this, plug x is equal to 2 centimeters into the original expression. Into the simplified expression would be a better thing to say. Into the simplified which is just that one over there. Right, so A of area is equal to 6x cubed plus 8x squared. On a test, I don't know why so many students will never do this. Just make sure that you're doing this. There's a reason you found that, right? It's to make your life easier. So just, make your life easier. Okay, so area is equal to 6x cubed plus 8x squared minus 10x. So I forgot to add the x here. Minus 10x, right? So then area is equal to 6. We're going to plug in 2, always put it in brackets. 8, plug in the 2, always in brackets, minus 10, 2. Now we're going to use BEDMAS. Do not forget BEDMAS. Everybody seems to want to forget it when we get to the new unit, but it doesn't ever leave, right? So according to BEDMAS, brackets, there are none. So let's go on and do our exponents. So we're going to do 6, 2 to the power of 3 is 8, plus 8, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, minus 10, 2 to the power, times 2 to the power of 1 is just 1. Move on to division or multiplication. Always do whatever comes first, right? So in this situation, multiplication comes first. So we're going to do 6 times 8, which is going to give us 48, plus 8 times 4, which is 32, minus 10 times 2, which is 20, right? So we're done brackets, we're done exponents, we're done division, multiplication. Left is addition and subtraction. So whatever comes first. 48 plus 32 minus 20 is all going to give us 60 centimeters squared. Okay? If we wanted to check our work, right, just to prove that plugging it into this same simplified expression is the same thing as just doing length times width, let's just do that. So we know area is equal to length times width. We know that length is equal to 2x. So let's do that. 2 times 2 equals 4. So say area is equal to 4 times, and then let's find our width, right? So W is equal to 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. This is just the proof. You don't actually need to do this on a test or a quiz. I'm just showing you that it doesn't matter that I changed the expression. It means the same thing because I just simplified it. So width is equal to, oops, I'm just going to make sure I put that in properly. 2 minus 5. So let's do that. 3, always do exponents first, times 4 plus 4 times 2, there's no exponent there, minus 5. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 4 times 2 is going to be 8, minus 5. If you do this, it should come up to about 60 centimeters, right? So then it's 4 times, oops, sorry, not 60, 15 centimeters. I got ahead of myself. So the length is 4 centimeters, the width is 15 centimeters. So we're going to do 4 times 15 equals 60 centimeters squared. It will give you the same answer, right? But here you have to find the length, you have to find the width. Here you can just simplify it and use that for anything, right? So it's just easier to find any length that I want. All right, so it says determine a simplified expression for the perimeter of the polygon. So a few things that we need to remember here is what is the equation for perimeter, right? And what do we need to do to find that, right? So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to put in what is the equation for perimeter. Perimeter is always equal to, I'm just going to go label these as side A. I'm going to label this as side B. Right, and I'm going to label this one over here in green as side C. No, I didn't want to do that. It's very hard to draw a straight line on an iPad, so I apologize. Okay, so that's side C. So, perimeter is equal to the sum of all sides. So it's going to be side A plus side B plus side C. Okay? We know that side A is equal to the expression here. X squared plus 6x plus 2. We know that side B is equal to this blue expression here. B is equal to 2x squared plus x minus 1. And we know that C is equal to 4x squared minus 3x plus 6. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to plug in A, B, and C for what they are. So let's do that. B is equal, or say P is equal to, A is just x squared plus 6x plus 2, and always going to be in brackets, plus B is going to be this blue, right? So B is equal to, always in brackets, 2x squared plus x minus 1. And then last but not least, C is equal to 4x squared minus 3x plus 6. And I'm just going to see if I can lasso this and just carry it over a little bit. Perfect. All right. It's okay. We'll just deal with it. Okay. It's just gonna be a little bit cut off over there. That's fine. Okay. All right. So now I have P is equal to that, right? Let's drop the brackets and start to collect our like terms. Okay. So I'm gonna say P is equal to, right? P is equal to. So I'm just going to drop my bracket here. There's a positive 1 on the outside, so I can just drop it. Plus 2. There's also positive on the outside here, so I can just drop my brackets because everything inside is just multiplied by positive 1, which means they just stay the same. Right? So it's going to be 2x squared plus x minus 1. Right? Plus 4x minus 3x plus 6. And I'm sorry that this is getting a little messy. Right? So now I have all those terms in. So let's just go and collect like terms now. Right? And this plus is also because you could just multiply everything inside by positive 1, so it stays the same. So let's go collect like terms. Let's go find all of our... Oops, that should be x squared. Let's go find all of our x squareds. So we have this x squared over here. We have this x squared over here, and it's a positive. And then we have this 4x squared over here. See, this is where form becomes so important. If your form is messy, right, and you don't generally keep a very neat way of writing your stuff, it's going to get messy and you're going to miss steps. So please make sure that you keep a form. You only use one equal sign per line. Okay? So this is going to be equal to, let's put all of our x squares together. So that's 1 plus 2 plus 4, right? So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is going to be, sorry, I stopped thinking for a second. Plus 4 is going to be 7. So this is going to be 7x squared. Right? Let's move on to our blue here. So we have positive 6, positive x, and minus 3x. So you can write that out, but I'm just going to do the math. So I'm going to say, okay, 6 plus x, because that's just 1, that becomes 7. Minus 4 is going to be minus 3, right? So it's 6 plus x. So that's 6 plus 1 is going to be 7, minus 3 is going to be 4. So that's positive 4x. And then the last one we have is our green here. We have positive 2 plus positive 6 minus 1, right? So positive 2 minus 1 is just going to be 1 plus 6 is going to be 7. Okay, and again, this is what I'm saying is that form really matters because it's really easy to miss stuff this way. Okay, and that's going to be our simplified expression for perimeter. Therefore, the simplified expression for perimeter or perimeter is P is equal to 7x squared plus 4x plus 7. Okay. And then it says determine the perimeter of x is equal to 1. So we're just going to go plug in 1. Plug in 1 to the expression from part A. I have already written your quiz. What should you probably do? These two questions are most definitely on it. Okay? So make sure, or your test, sorry. So make sure you go over them. Okay? So plug in number 1 to the expression from part A. So I'm just going to plug that in. So I'm going to say 7x. So I'm just going to say P is equal to 7x squared plus 4x plus 7. Right? P is equal to 7 times 1 squared plus 4. I'm just plugging in the 1 and make sure it's always in brackets, because if you don't plug it in brackets, it just gets messy. And it's the form. It actually changes stuff, right? Because if this was a negative, it would change things. I'm going to say p is equal to 7. Always do exponents first, so 1 squared is just 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. 4, 1 plus 7 equals 7 times 1 is just 7, plus 4 times 1 is just 1, plus 7. So 7 times 7 plus 4 is going to give me 18 centimeters, right? 18 centimeters. I do not know why my p's keep correcting today. Okay, so I'm going to just write a therefore statement. Therefore, the perimeter is 1 centimeter. 18 centimeters. Okay, if x is equal to 1. Alrighty, so it says determine the length of the missing side if you're given the perimeter. So this is where this gets a little bit complicated, but not complicated enough that we don't understand it. So I want you to think about this question for yourself for a second, because it makes you understand what you don't understand and how to think about problems, right? So take a second, think about it for yourself, try to solve it, pause this video, and then come back and watch it, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to determine the missing side of the length. So hopefully you pause this, then now you're coming back, right? You're not cheating and you're not skipping ahead. So I'm just going to label this side as A. I'm going to label this side as B, right? And I'm going to label this side over here as C, right? So I have A, B, and C. And I know what P is already. I know P is 5x squared plus 7x plus 12. And I know that my regular equation for perimeter is equal to A plus B plus C. I need to isolate for, or at the very least get C on its own, right? So how I'm going to do that is, if you remember from last year, right? And we're going to talk about this again when we talk about equations on both sides, right? I want to move this A and B over to the other side. How I'm going to do that is, if I'm going to subtract on one side, right, it will get rid of the A. So if I do A minus A, it'll get rid of the A on this side. And what that will do is, whatever I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other. So let's try to do that. So I'm going to do P minus A minus A, right? So I'm just going to go back here. I'm just going to write this way. P minus A, because anything I do on one side of the equation, I have to do on the other side. I can't just go, it's like a balance method, right? Like you can't just go taking stuff out of one side of the equation. So minus A goes away. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with P we have the minus A is equal to we're left over with B plus C, and we want to get C on its own, so we want to get rid of the B. So minus B over here, right? Because this will cancel out, and whatever you do to this side, you have to do to the other side. So then I'm left with P minus A minus B is equal to C. And now I have an equation, right, that solves for C, that tells me how to find C. Okay? So let's use that. I'm going to put P in as the black one. It's 5x squared plus 7x plus 12. Always going to be in brackets. And this is where the brackets start to become important. Okay? Minus A is the purple one. Minus 2x squared minus 5. Minus B, which was red, minus, also in brackets, B, which is red, is 3x squared plus 9x. All of this gives me C, which is what we're looking for. It's our missing side. Okay, Now, we need to expand and then simplify. The first one, everything outside this bracket is just multiplied by +1, so we can just open it up. Right? We don't really need to change anything inside. Everything inside this bracket, this purple bracket here, is multiplied by the -1 in front. So when we do -1 times -2, it's going to become -2x squared. -1 times -5, it's going to become +5. Right? Same thing with the other side. So anytime there's a -1, you just change the signs in this inside because everything is multiplied by -1. Right? So it's become -3x squared minus 9x, all equal to c. Now we're going to go back and be like, okay, let's collect our like terms. So let's start off with all the x squared. So we have 5x squared, we have 2x squared, and then we have -3x, right? So let's just write those all together. I'm just going to go in and write them in pink. So it's going to be 5x squared. And you're more than welcome to just do this step in your head. Just writing it out so that you can see. 5x squared minus 3x squared. Right, I'm going to do this in blue, the next one. So I have +7x minus 9x. There doesn't seem to be any other x, so let's just write that in. +7x minus 9x. And then we're left over with the green. +12, because there's no coefficient. +5, there's no coefficient. So I'm just going to write that in as well in green. +12, +5. Right? And let's just do the math. So I'm going to do 5. In this situation, it's just the coefficients. 5 minus 2 is going to give me 3. Minus 3 is going to give me -2, right? So 5 minus 2 is going to give me 3. Minus 3 is just going to give me 0. I'm a liar. It's nothing. So it's 0x squared. 0x squared, right? Anything multiplied by 0 is just 0, so you don't even need to write that in. I'm writing it for our purposes. We'll clean this up after. So then 7 minus 9 is going to give me -2x. And then we have 12 plus 5, which is going to give us +17. Right, so perimeter is equal to 0x squared minus 2x +17. Which we're going to simplify even more. We're going to get rid of that 0x squared, and it's going to be -2x plus 17. And that is my answer. Okay. So then, as always, I got to write an expression. So I got to say, okay, therefore, the expression... Oh, sorry, that shouldn't be P. That should be C is equal to... The expression for the missing side is -2x plus 17. Okay, -2x plus 17. And that's it. It's not asking you to do anything any further. It's going to say the perimeter for the quad, and then we're going to move on. Okay. So it says the perimeter for the quadrilateral shown below is P equals x squared minus 6x plus 2. Use the other side length shown in the diagram to find the length of the missing side. Same thing as before, except that was a triangle, so it was a little bit easier. This is a quadrilateral. That means it has 4 sides, so it's a little bit more complicated. Okay? So, just going to go down here. It says using the length. So, we know that for a quadrilateral, the perimeter is always going to equal a sum of all its sides. So you can be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you're going to do A plus B plus C plus D. Remember when I said that this straight line here and this straight line here means that A is equal to whatever this one is? So this is also A. So instead of saying A plus B plus C plus D, right, we can say A plus 2A, right? 2 times that side plus B, right, which would be up here. So we're going to say A is that one. We'll also call that side A. A plus this side up here, we'll call this B. And this side down here, which we'll call C. So 2A plus B plus C. If for you, it just makes the most sense to do A plus B plus C plus D, that's fine. Do it that way. Do what makes sense for you. All right, I'm just showing you another way to do this, another way to look at this so that you don't have as many variables to work with. Okay, so I am going to go in, I'm going to change this C into, oops, I'm going to change this C into that. So we're going to leave our perimeter as a black marker, and we know that our perimeter is equal to, and I'm just going to scroll down so I have space. So perimeter is equal to, so P is equal to 2A plus B plus C, right? And I want to get that C by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2A on both sides. So I'm going to say, okay, minus 2A here, minus 2A here. So I'm left with P minus 2A is equal to B plus C, right? This 2A canceled each other out. So then I'm going to do B. I want to get rid of the B, so I'm going to subtract on that side, subtract on this side. Right, so I'm left with P minus, oops, I'm going to join the black pen. P minus 2A minus B is equal to C. You guys might have learnt it, or you all might have learnt it, such as like the taking over method. It's called the bridge method. Personally, that's not the method that we're going to use because it gets a little bit confusing and it doesn't talk about inverse operations. So make sure what you're using is inverse operations in order to get to the other side, and we'll talk more about this as we move on. Okay, so now we're just going to plug in what values we have. So we have the value for P, which was given to us. It's up here, right? And I'm just going to do that in the black marker as well. So I'm going to say, okay, P is equal to 8x squared minus 6x plus 2, always in brackets, minus, and then A we said was green, so minus 2 times, oops, and we're just going to leave the 2 out there because 2 times, we're substituting A in here, which is 2x squared plus x plus 3, right? Just from there, we're plugging it in. And then we said B, so minus B, minus, and we said B was this pink one, and it was x squared minus 3x plus 1. And I just got that number from up here. Okay. And now all of that is equal to C. So let's figure this out. For 8x squared minus 6x plus 12, it's just a positive 1 on the outside. So you can just drop those brackets. So I can write it like that. Here, we need to multiply everything inside of this bracket by negative 2 because it's a negative 2 on the outside. So let's do that. Negative 2 times positive 2x squared is going to become minus 4. It's just the distributive property, 4x squared. Negative 2 times positive 1x is going to be negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 3 is going to be negative 6. Okay. Then we're just going to do the same thing here. Negative 1 times negative x squared is going to be negative x. We're just changing the signs in the situation. Positive 3x, because it's just a negative on the outside, plus minus 1, sorry. Minus 1. All is equal to C. Now that all of our brackets have disappeared, we can start collecting like terms. So I'm just going to go in. We'll collect this one first. Let's collect all of our x squares and write them out. So 8x squared minus 4x, and I'm squared. I'm going to put that in a pink marker, right? Let's go in and collect all of our negative x's, or all of our x's. Oops, I forgot. This x squared, we forgot that one here. So put that in, negative x squared, right? And that's why I use this method, so that, you know, everything kind of stays aligned. Positive 3. So let's do that. So we have negative x, and I'm just going to do this again in the black marker and just highlight it so that we know what we're working with. Negative 6x minus 2x plus 3x, right? And from what I understand, all we have left over is this positive 2, negative 6, negative 1. So positive 2, negative 6, negative 1, right? Again, I'm just highlighting what we're doing so that you can follow along in your note. Okay, so let's go solve all the pink ones first. 8 minus 4 is going to give us 4. Minus 1 is going to give us 3. So we have 3x squared. We're just getting rid of the coefficients. Negative 6 minus 2 is going to be negative 8. Plus 3 is going to be positive 5x. And then in the green, we have 2 minus 6 is going to be negative 4. Minus 1 also going to be negative 5. So this is what C is equal to. So the expression for my missing side, therefore the length of the missing side is 3x squared minus 5x minus 5. Okay, and that's my answer. And I can't simplify that anymore because they're all addition. There's no like terms. I can't collect anything else. I'm done. Alrighty. 2 more examples left. Thank you for bearing with me so far, right? This is also just a little bit, as we move on, example 1 is always the easiest one, and then we move through it. This is more of an application type question. So if we're given the simplified expression we want to give the simplified expression for the shaded area, right? Before we even get started, how can we find the area of the shaded area, right? We know that the area of the shaded part is equal to the area of this entire square, right? Minus, so area total. So I always write it as area of total. You can write area of entire, you can write area of big, whatever you want to do. Area of the total minus the area of this tiny square in here, right? So minus area small or green, whatever you want to do, right? Because we want to know how much space does the shaded area take up, and the area inside is unshaded. So in order for us to do this, we can write this as, let's find the area of the total, right, separately. Then let's go separately and find the area of the small. And I'm just going to make my pen a little skinnier here, right, area of the small. So let's find the area of the total first. Area of the total is equal to length times width, right? And our length is 11, y, and always put it in brackets, multiplied by, our width is also 11y because it's a square, so they're the same. And our area is equal to 11 times 11 is 121. Y times y is just y squared. So that's the area of our total. That's the area of the big box. Now let's find the area of the small box. Area of the small is equal to length times width, right? Same thing. So area of the small is equal to, our length here is 6y. Our width here is also 6y. Right? And put everything in brackets. So area is equal to 6 times 6, which is just 36. Y times y, which is y squared. Now, I have the area of the total box. I have the area of the small box. I can easily find the area of the shaded. So area shaded is equal to area total minus area small, right? So let's just plug in those expressions. So let's say, okay, area total is 121y squared, and it's always going to be in brackets, minus 36y squared, right? Let's drop these brackets where we can. So in the first one, we can just say 121y squared minus 36y squared. They are like terms, right? They're both y squared, so we can just subtract the coefficients. So 121 minus 36 is going to be 85y squared. That's the area of the shaded. Okay. So, knowing that, obviously B is a little bit harder. So pause. If you didn't get how to do A with thinking on your own, try to do it knowing what you know now. Okay? So try to do it knowing what you know now. All right, so welcome back. Hopefully you stopped and you didn't cheat and come back here, right? Same idea. So we know our area of the shaded, right, of the entire shaded portion, just the shaded portion, this part here, is going to be equal to when you take the entire area and you subtract this box on the inside, right? So let's try to do that. So area of the shaded, I always like to write it out as an equation. I think it helps you think better. And it helps you remember what's my ultimate goal, right? So area of the big, area minus area of the small. Or let's make this area the total. Right? So let's do it and then separate it. So your area total is equal to the total box. Let's look. What's the length and width here, right? So the length here is 6n, and the width is 8n plus 14. Right? Now you just got to distribute. 6n times 8n is going to be 6 times 8 is 48. N times n is n squared. Right? 6 times 14. 6n times 14. So it's going to be plus. 6 times 14 is going to be 84. And then n times 1 is just n. So the expression for area of the total box is going to be 48 n plus 84. So let's go in and find area of the small. I'm going to do it in a different color. You don't have to. You could just do it in the same color. I don't expect that from you on a test or a quiz. And that's just this area right here. Sorry, it's not better, but we'll say 10n and 4n minus 1. So we'll say 10n multiplied by 4n plus 1. Distribute. 10n times 4n is going to be 40n squared. 10n times 1 is going to be 10n. Right? So that's the area of the small. Now we have the area of the total. We have the area of the small. We want to find the area of the shaded. So let's just go plug it back in. Area shaded is equal to, and it always should be in brackets, 48n squared plus 84 minus bracket 40n squared plus 10n, right, equals 48n squared plus 84. We can drop those brackets, distribute the negative 1 in, so just change all the signs, minus 10n, right? Now go and collect these terms. 48n squared minus 40n squared is going to give me 8n squared equals 8n squared. 84 plus minus 10n. Sorry, that should be 84n. My apologies. 84n. 84n minus 10n is just going to give us 84 minus 10 is 74n. And that is our answer. Okay. And then last but not least here, it says determine the area of the triangle. Area of the triangle. So before we even go solve this, remember, area of a triangle. And you need to know this equation from last year is equal to base times height divided by 2. So it's equal to the base multiplied by the height, so that's going upwards, divided by 2. Okay? So it says, determine the area of the triangle. What's the formula for the area of the triangle? So we know that area is equal to base times height divided by 2. I know that my base is equal to 6x. I know that my height is equal to x plus 4. I can just go in and plug in b and h, solve and substitute, right? So let's do that. So we have 6x times height, which is x plus 4, divided by 2, right? Up here, let's do our distribution. 6x times x is going to be 6x squared. 6x times 4 is going to be plus 24x, just 6 times 4, and then the x is by itself, divided by 2, right? And I can just break this down so that I can simplify it. So it's x, 2x, 6x squared divided by 2 plus 24x divided by 2, right? And if I break that down, the 6 and the 2 cancel each other out, right? So then I'm left with 3x squared, and the 24 and the 2 cancel each other out. So I'm left with 12x, right? And that means that my simplified expression for area in that situation is equal to, and I'm going to have good form, and I'm going to write a therefore statement as well, but area is equal to 3x squared plus 12x, right? And then I'm going to write at the end, therefore, the expression for area is area equals 3x squared plus 12x. And that is my answer, right? And I usually just write this little cloud beside around it so that my teacher knows where to find the answer. And that's it. That's lesson 4. Try to do the homework for these. A lot of your thinking and inquiry questions come from this because this is taking all of our lessons, putting it together, and really solidifying those concepts. All right. See you later.